All right, so let's talk about some investment properties.
I mean,
First of all, when it comes to a home, some people view it in a different lens. Some people look at it as a sentimental. They make the connection with home and all of that. Other people look at it purely as an investment. Some people, it's a combination of both. How do you view that do you look at it as a commodity, somebody's house as an investment?
What? I use the verbiage housing stock all the time, and I've definitely received negative feedback. Some of it from our listeners here on the radio stations. You know what? Because, a lot of people think of their home as, the heart is where the home is.
Yeah.
I really think of even your primary residence as an investment. And I think for more and more people these days, it is an investment. I'm talking to a lot of parents of first-time home buyers, and, we've mentioned this before that, some people are even selling their homes to be able to provide, a gift to their first-time home buyer. Sometimes they're mortgaging their home, or maybe they're putting a home equity line of credit on their home to provide a big gift. As the home prices increase, people that are already in the housing market are benefiting from that. And, I think without some help, first-time home buyers are becoming sometimes priced out of that marketplace. They need the gift. And, it may be as easy as a gift of 5% of the purchase price. But I'm certainly seeing a lot of large gifted funds that are coming from family in terms of even a six-figure amount, enough that a first-time home buyer can even put down 20%, which is pretty amazing if you are a first-time home buyer and you don't need that insurance from the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation or one of the two private insurers.
So from a financial planning standpoint, I know people talk about having a diversified portfolio, but if somebody had money and they could pay down a mortgage or they could put it into the market, mutual funds, whatever it might be, that sometimes, depending on who you ask, what their methodology is, depends on where's your mind go when it comes to, are you best off in putting cash into a house or investments, or because mortgages we know are rock bottom?
There's two schools of thought.
Okay.
For me, I think you should pay off your debts first. So this is like unsecured debts, car loans, if it's more than 0% interest. Once all your debts are paid off, then you should max out your RRSP and your TFSAs. Personally, these are vehicles that could help you in terms of your, tax liabilities now and, protecting you from, tax on any of those gains. And then focus on paying down your mortgage. Mortgage rates are really at all-time lows. A good variable rate today is, on insured purchase, 1.35%. At those rates, you should ride it out. Other people are like, let's take advantage of these low rates and pay it down faster. In my opinion, now is a great time to save. And you can pay it down faster later if you have time later. So, I think it's really a personal opinion. And I certainly don't sit in your household, but I have these same conversations with borrowers every day. And it's first-time home buyers and it's existing homeowners, even thinking about going into retirement. I'm having these same conversations. And it's a personal preference. Not every strategy is right for everyone. I'm also not a financial advisor or a financial planner. I work in finance. I do mortgage lending every day. I'm more motivated for people to take the largest mortgage they can take because we get paid based on volume. We don't get paid based on rate. And I think that's what's really important to remember. And that's a great reason to want to use an unbiased mortgage professional like us to do your mortgage lending, because we are not biased to the lender. We are biased to the consumer because we're in a relationship business, really with the consumer. We want to make sure that clients come back to us and we want to feel like they've got great advice and a great deal. And, I don't think it's the same maybe with the bank branch or the credit union. They think that they have their arms in the fence around the client, but there's such a large turnover even in those institutions. And with us, I've been doing this for 15 years and, we're coming up on $1 billion of mortgages funded here in Nova Scotia and across the country. So we're certainly doing a lot here from our office in Halifax and in Dartmouth. And, I think that provides a little bit of economies to the client. So what that means is maybe the rate's a little bit lower, Todd.
Yeah.
Or maybe, we're able to provide better service or better communication because we have that technology. And we actually have quite a good sized team. And it's not just me. So when people call, we really pride ourselves during the week to answer the phone. We try to get back to people right away over email. And I think it's really all about that experience the customer gets. I do get the calls that borrowers call me in a panic because their financing deadline's coming up or something, is time sensitive and the lender that they were using just isn't getting back to them. And obviously it's busy. I get that, everyone. The market, we've seen, lots of increases, lots of transactions, but I actually read a stat that the sales for June actually are showing signs of slowing in Nova Scotia. Mm-hmm. Is it going to cool off? I don't think so. But I can tell you a little bit of reprieve I think is okay. I think things are going to renormalize a little bit, but I do not believe the prices are going to go down. I think the prices, have increased, and I think we've now kind of seen the new normal. But you kind of asked about, an investment, and your home might be an investment, but what about maybe a rental property? Mm-hmm. Or what about a cottage? Those can be investments too. And I think that, when you're thinking about an investment, it's not just buying an investment property. It could be a bigger home because maybe that bigger home will appreciate faster than the home you have now. Or maybe it's just buying your first home, paying down the mortgage, improving the property, and increasing your net worth every month that goes by. So I don't think, investing in real estate is just buying rental properties. It could be a second home. It could be a vacation property. I don't know. But I think there's lots of options. And I think that there's lots of things that are right for a lot of people. And the one thing I can mention to you is there's way more listings now in June and into July than there have been in the months prior. So
Why do you think that is?
I think sometimes people were maybe holding off or people were scared. There was a lot going on with COVID, but I feel like there's a lot of motivation and, we have a really great vaccination rate here in Nova Scotia. Things are getting back to normal. And I think that we're going to renormalize. At one point, before kind of the third wave, every third call we were getting was from Ontario. And then the province really shut it down, where even people, if they bought a home, they could not come here unless they had a purchase and sale agreement before a certain date. But I'm seeing more activity in the market, but it's more of a normal type of activity. So I'm motivated. I can tell you our team's motivated. We've just moved into our brand new office in Halifax and, still having our office in Dartmouth and serving, clients across Nova Scotia and really across the country. So we're pretty excited and we're happy. And I think that the clients are happy too. And realtors are happy and lawyers are happy. There's a lot of optimism in the air and, we're feeling pretty good.
Excellent. I want to talk to you more about cottages, though, but we need a break, so we're going to do that, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, we'll talk more about cottages, and maybe we can talk a little bit more about some refinances. I know we're getting lots of questions about refis right now. You would think it's purchase season, but guess what? It's a great time to just talk about everything mortgage lending.
You got it. Okay, so we'll be back with Mortgage 101, your guide home ownership with Clinton Wilkins and myself, Todd Veinotte. We'll be back.